Some dance. I need some dance music or something really exciting and fun, Woo,
You
woo,
can add
woo.
this later. We'll just look as if we're jiggling.
Totally. All right, everyone. So this is a really, really, really exciting day. I love new beginnings. Sometimes they can be, I think sometimes people get stressed about new beginnings. For me, it's always like this exciting new adventure, and I love to do things organically and see how they unfold. So this is Monday Money Talks. Monday Money Talks. And I'm going to be here every week. Some weeks when I might go on trips and, it doesn't work. But for the most part, I will be here every Monday at noon, Mountain Standard Time, USA. And for this very first one, I wanted to bring on Paul Rogers because he's been on my podcast when it was called Max Potential Habits. Now it's Max Potential Money, and I'm not doing interviews anymore because I wanted to bring people here for a live conversation about all things wealth, money, business, the things that people don't always want to talk about. So the idea of this Monday Money Talks is to get into the thick of it in terms of what we think about money, what we think about wealth building, why we love to build our businesses, what does genuine wealth mean to us, just those kind of conversations. And Paul and I really just connect at a deep level. And when he was on my show, we had such magic happen. And so I thought there is no one better than Paul to come on for my very first one and just have us jam out together, see what happens. So that's why we're here. I'm so psyched that you're with me, Paul.
It's so nice, and I think I'm sort of competing with you who's most excited, so it's kind of fun.
I love it. That's great. I know it's funny because I got this I enrolled in StreamYard quite a while ago, and I did one just kind of live test. I was like, wow, this is a really cool platform to broadcast out. So right now we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn and YouTube, and so it's this kind of magic studio where all these cool things happen, and then and then we just get to chat. And I know you've told me you've got some really cool stuff in the works. So, for those of you who don't know Paul, he's an author, a best-selling author, a speaker, a mentor. He was working with a nonprofit. He has a podcast and YouTube channel called the Release the Genie. Super cool. So he's doing a lot of amazing stuff in the world. So I'd love to hear, you said you just released a book. Will you share with us just a tad about it before we dive into money?
Absolutely. It's a 5-part series, and this is just book 3. And
just book 3, no big deal.
Yeah, no, it's just my 3rd.
Yes.
They're all free, which is the big thing, because actually I love to give things, and in nowadays it's kind of like, and I think Bob Proctor said it first, it's kind of like your business card where you're able to actually give something. So before anyone talks to you, they've got an idea of actually what's going on, how you are and everything. And so the 3rd one is love your life, not theirs. Because so many people seem to be focusing on other people, and they're kind of walking in on the wrong chapter. They're walking in just when they got it right, but they're not there in all the other chapters. And it's also about the power, and I think really appropriate now for businesses, for clients, for customers, is the power of vulnerability and the pursuit of imperfection, which Brené Brown did a really good book on. Because actually and there's a conflict, and that's kind of where the white and the dark wolf come in, going down and expressing that conflict. It's by Kate Summers and Paul Rogers. If anyone doesn't know, I'm going to share a confession that actually Kate Summers is my alter ego. So Kate at the weekends anyway. So so that's really exciting. And just going back to calling cards, and what we're doing here is, this is the new type of calling card, where people do business with people they like, period. Yeah. It's just that actually we have different platforms to help express that, and more people can see that. I run a public speaking course called Find Your Voice, and one of the things I actually is tell them is about selling ice cream. Now, selling ice cream, if you sell every single flavor, that's you trying to appeal to everyone. And somebody will still come in and ask you whether you got
Yeah.
some flavor and you don't do it. So I'd rather sell the best vanilla and chocolate there are on the market. And the people who like vanilla and chocolate are going to come to me. And the person who say wants strawberry, that's fine. You can go to the next person. And I use that as a sort of an analogy for attracting the right people to your business.
Yes.
Rather than just doing a scattergun effect and just grabbing anything that walks in the door.
Yeah. That's an incredible money tip right there. That people so miss. I've noticed, I'm curious what you think about this, but to me, it seems like we get FOMO, fear of missing out. We're like, I've got to help everyone. And we have big hearts as entrepreneurs often, and we want to help everyone, but then people get confused and they don't know what you actually do. What would you say is the reason people want to do that?
I think when you say the FOMO, I think that's very much at the base of it. It's not the entrepreneur's fault as well. The market has changed. What people wanted before we went into this and what people want now, I think is a very different thing. I think beforehand, we were all blown away with the consumerism. We're on this treadmill. Now it's, well, actually, what connection has that person got with me? Is that person or that business authentic? Are they actually genuinely interested in what I'm doing and reaching out rather than just trying to pitch me? Everyone hates being pitched. But when you actually have authenticity, vulnerability, that's what people want nowadays. They don't want the slick marketing, and that turns people off, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to the scattergun effect. I had this fantastic piece of advice from Dean Grazioli, and he said about marketing. And I always thought that marketing was a one-way street. You just you set your stall up and then you wait for. He said, no, it's a two-way street. You attract the people you want and you repel the people you don't want. So usually, and we know, the people who are off our patch, we struggle, we lose sleep over them because it's not quite what we do. Mm-hmm. And they are the ones. And another thing is pricing yourself too cheap. That is a money killer, because actually we don't, as entrepreneurs, we get a bit shy about actually pricing ourselves. Even though we're delivering phenomenal service, we kind of feel a bit, well, we don't really feel that we can do that. And that is another money tip. And if you price too low, they're a pain in the backside, and then they don't want to pay you anyway.
Well, and I think it's interesting because the two things you just said are so valuable, and I teach people this all the time. I want to hit on authenticity and vulnerability, and then so you're talking about magnetizing the right people, repelling the wrong people. Not meaning the people are wrong, but that they're just not a good fit for what you actually do. And then when you don't price enough, that combination is pretty toxic to your money flow, because you feel resentful, you feel frustrated, you feel stuck, and you get up and you're like, why am I? It's like creating a prison out of your business. Like, I'm doing things every day I don't want to do, and I'm not getting paid enough to do it.
And when this sounds very woo-woo, but hey, I run a podcast called Release the Genie, so I'm kind of allowed. But no, you're right. When your heart is not actually in it, it's very hard. There's that inner resistance, and also there's that feeling you just got to hold on to it, and it's time consuming, because actually you don't feel that confidence, so you overcompensate just to make sure that you've got it right. And again, over delivering on service. In fact, we need to dial ourselves down, because what we deliver is like most people's best day out ever, and our worst day out ever is mostly that. So and that frees up the time, because they're time vampires.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're saying is incredibly valuable, because one thing that we want to do is connect with our people from that place of authenticity and vulnerability. And I think when you take on clients, customers, people that don't really align, you end up being inauthentic because you're trying to fit something that you're not. And then people can feel that or experience it. I do want to know what you think, like, what does it mean to you practically to be authentic and vulnerable? Like, how does that show up in business and then relate to money magnetism?
I think we all know that everything has gone online now, which some people say it's a curse, other people say it's a blessing. I personally am very, very happy about it. I have people I speak to all over the world like us. I've never met you in person, but
Yeah.
I know I could jump on a plane if you asked and I'd come and help. And that type of connection, if you got it all one, then you have a community. That type of, and people, you see it through people's posts. If you're on LinkedIn, which I am, you can see that people are actually showing themselves, and it's not a gimmick. And there, there's the hard sell. Everyone hates that. There's a softer sale where actually you say, "Here I am," and if you like what I'm doing, back to the ice cream things. Look into what I'm doing, and it's so important. You haven't got time to waste on not being aligned. Let them ones go,
Yeah.
because you are blocking that space for somebody who could be the big ticket
Yeah.
ride. And what you're doing is filling a space for somebody who doesn't really fit.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I always think about how we must say yes to the things that are aligned, no to the things that aren't, because you're opening the door to the things that are when you say no to what you don't want. And you can't get what you want doing what you don't want to do. And so
It,
you can't work with who you want to work with, working with people you don't really want to work with. And it's, to me, there's a lot of fear around it. People get scared about saying no to someone. And that FOMO piece, and just kind of, especially if you're in a startup or you're in a newer stage of business, you think like, oh, if I say no, I'm missing an opportunity, or, maybe I'll get a bad reputation, or maybe I can mold myself into this. But then we actually limit our power and like that authentic place where we come in and go like, this is my zone of genius. This is what I love to do. This is who I want to work with. And then you get to make the most money possible and have the largest impact. Yeah.
I think it's a question of a law of attraction. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. Whatever you focus on, whether it's scarcity, well, you're going to get more of that. So if you've got people who are not aligned with you, you focus on that. Well, guess what? You're going to send that message out, and you're going to get more. When
Yeah.
in fact, if you think this is who I want, and hey, we're trying to, people don't fit into boxes. That's the first thing. People come in, oh, that's my perfect client. Well, sometimes it's the people you don't think are going to be who actually come in, and they're different, because
Yeah.
everyone has their own persona. People don't, they don't tell you their story on the first occasion.
Right. Yeah.
And
It's like
sometimes
layers. You get the layers going.
and you've got to build up that trust, and trust is a very important thing. So slowly gained, but so quickly lost.
Yes. Yes.
And I think it's it's easier to have a base of solid clients. It's a bit like LinkedIn. People say they've got X number of thousand followers, like football stadiums full, and and I know that of my ones, most of them are engaged, and I feel very lucky with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You have
and,
incredible engagement in your LinkedIn community. Yeah.
and that's for me, that's worth 10 of anything else,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they are people who I've built a relationship up with. This is the same for all entrepreneurs. I haven't met face to face most of these people. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I speak to people in Australia. It's lovely. I mean, I really enjoy.
I'm curious. I want to know, because that's such a valuable tip that you can bring to the audience today. How do you get your audience to engage on social media, especially LinkedIn for you? Because I know that's your main platform. What are your tips and tricks and secrets? Because you're really good at it.
Oh, bless you. Well, to be honest, I don't try to think too hard about it. That's the first thing. Um, I divorce myself from the outcome. So I'm like, well, I'm going to put this out there because I like it. I enjoy it. And this is me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some people get carried away. Well, I've only got X number of likes. Okay, that wasn't your day. You cannot score a Hail Mary every single day. There are days when you actually bang in your zone. And I mean, I know this is with you. Sometimes, and without you really thinking, somebody will come in and say, "That's really what I needed to hear today."
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that makes it all worthwhile because, like you, we're trying to do the best service for the people we can. And on my public speaking course, I always say, don't talk for your friends and the people you know. You're trying to reach that person who's invisible, that one or two steps behind, who may be listening, don't actually like all things, but they see and they hear. And then when they get to speak to you, they say, I've been watching you for a little while.
Yeah.
That's the thing of being consistent.
Yes, I love that you said that because well, first you said something really important, which is that you're posting things that you want to share. It's not like you have this end result of like, there's no neediness, there's no desperation, there's no sales job. It's just like, hey, I'm here. I want to share this. Let's like talk about this. Let's build, a conversation around it. And your posts really, to me, shine that way. It's just like, here's what I'm sharing, here's who I am in the world, and you start those conversations, and it's really cool. And then that piece of what's coming up for me when you say this is like, it doesn't matter the numbers. It's not about like your massive number of followers. It's really about who you impact in that following and who's really resonating with your message. And let's say you have a post, like I don't have as nearly as much engagement as you, and I'm learning, and I'm learning like what that looks like. But I have a really successful business from a very small following because I bring value to the right people. And it's like you start the conversation with those people specifically, and I get that. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite things of all time when I get an email of someone like, oh my God, I needed to hear this today, or you really changed my life in this way, or my business in this way. And I'm just like, yes, that's why I do what I do. And if I can impact one person a day that way and what I post, like, awesome.
I totally agree. I'm going to share something from my business past. When I quit being a corporate lawyer, I then went and started a kite surfing business. And there was me and this other business on the same beach, just us two. We had very different. They were like 10, 15 people, like one or two instructors, so massive bulk. And I, on the other hand, and that was one day, 3 days in total, I did one or two people, 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I found, first of all, if you do a full day, and it's in the North Sea in England, it's cold. And I found that people ran out of energy and they actually went backwards. So they'd come out of it feeling they wouldn't remember how well they did in the morning. They just had this frustration. So targeting and keeping it short, concise, and a lot of the money isn't in the front end. Like these guys, they paid for lessons.
Yeah.
That's nice. But what I did manage to do is I managed to sell them everything they were standing in.
Yeah.
And a kite. And it's been 10, 15 years. I still have them as friends now.
Yeah. Yeah. You developed quality relationships.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was able to deliver. And what happened then is I stopped looking for clients. They started looking for me because people would see me and they would, and for example, I would say to them, oh, we want to learn how to jump. And I said, jumping's easy. It's the coming down you need to worry about. And I'd get to a point where I'd say, right, you need to go and practice. I'm here. I will keep my eye on you regardless. That was a service I didn't charge for.
Yeah.
And they do that and then they come back.
Mm-hmm.
So chasing every cent, every dollar is not what you need to do. You need to actually be willing to be open, give the client the space, and they will come back and they're going to refer somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. So much gold in what you're saying, because, one thing I think a lot of people try to focus on new leads in their business, instead of going, the people I bring in, I want to cultivate a really deep connected relationship with them. I want them to get incredible results. I want them to feel good working with me. And then they do the job of referring people to you, and they become repeat clients or customers, right? So that, because one of the hardest things in business is lead generation of new people. So, it's like when you really take care of the people you have, people forget that aspect. It's like, take care of the people you have. It's one of the fastest ways to grow your business, and also just add new services and programs that they're wanting. So it's like in my community, go like, oh, we need this standalone workshop because a lot of people are asking for this topic. So, and then all you have to do is promote it to the people you already work with, who already know, like, and trust you. And it makes your it increases your revenue. It increases their results from working with you. Like, there's so many benefits to that, and people forget that often. I love that you're talking about that.
You come from a demand point perspective rather than a speculative, I'll put this out and see what happens. If there's already demand, you can shape that then, and you're giving somebody something they actually want rather than what you think they need. And I think people, they put something out and say, well, everyone will want that. Well, no. I mean, the market research is slightly different. Yeah, you can pay somebody to do all this stuff. You could do this yourself by just looking and keeping connection with your clients. When I was a lawyer, I used to sell and buy lots of catteries and kennels, and people were like, really? And there was one place where actually, and I really liked this. They sent them a they sent them a card which arrived one day before they came home, saying, Fufu, I'll just think of a macho name, Fufu has a really good time, missing you, can't wait to see you tomorrow. And that was the first card they had from their pet, which I thought was genius. And then every birthday, they get a card from that. And that is the difference. They're small things. It's not the big thing. It's the small things of remembering, of just having that type of arrangement where you make them an extended family.
Yeah. And I mean, there you're also talking about innovation and uniqueness, and really thinking about, like, what do my clients really want, or customers really want? And it's fun and playful, and, so that's great. I love that. Yeah. I'm curious. I want to know, like, to me, those are a whole bunch of gold. Money, mindset, marketing, manifestation is what I focus on. And you're bringing a ton of really good tips from somebody who has built a successful following and is doing a lot of cool things in the world. What would you say, what wealth means to you, or, like, what does money mean to you? Like, could you share a little bit there?
Absolutely. It's now, I think most people relate to this. Wealth can mean different things. And I started off when I was in my 20s, empire building, and it was all about acquiring things, stuff. So I had the shiniest stuff, I had, the cars, la, 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 la. But that does not make you happy. And I found out, and I changed. I then went, you don't make $1 million being a kite surfing instructor. You may make that as a commercial lawyer. But the journey I have taken has been phenomenal. So now, and I suspect people, as I said, people entered into this crisis. They are not the same people they are now. And the collection of things mostly isn't as important as actually wealth of you, whether you've been actually becoming an expert in your field, whether you've been finding new opportunities. Everyone's had to innovate, and adversity is the best necessity for change. And I think the people who, I always look at this as a preparation time, the people who have really put in the hours on themselves, on their business, when it starts to the new world, they're going to have a head start. It's an unfair advantage they're going to have from working on their business and themselves now.
Yeah. So wealth then it's like investing in yourself.
Yeah, and it sounds corny and stuff, but hey, you can have $1 million in the bank at the moment. Where the heck's that going to get you?
Yeah.
No way, you know.
It's interesting to think about. I think about this a lot. Like, what does money really represent for people? You know, and I think you can be mega wealthy and have millions of dollars in the bank and be miserably unhappy. You could also have millions of dollars in the bank and be super happy. You could be on the reverse of that and not have very much money and be miserable, not have very much money and be super content. So it's always coming down to like, what is it for you that money does, and what does it allow? And you know my background of being on food stamps, and it's like being in survival mode and really freaked out. And then you have this incredible story of getting a second chance, really, at life, and like those things cause you to reflect from a different perspective and go, what really matters? Why does life matter? Why does wealth matter? What's my purpose? What do I want to do in the world? You know.
I mean, to be honest, you know, there's 3 points. I'm going to write them down because I tend to forget. Hey, bang on the head, that does that to you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you a wee story which I heard, which I absolutely love. 2 guys at a funeral, and they're friends, and they're standing over the casket or whatever. And one friend says to you, they said, so what did he leave? The other guy says, everything.
Right.
You cannot take anything out of this life, nothing apart from how you came in. The second thing is that I view money as a token of appreciation. So the more value, the more appreciation you get back. And money is a man-made thing. And so it's a token of appreciation. And thirdly, money is energy. Think of the word currency. Well, it's energy. If you allow energy to flow backwards and forwards, if you hoard the energy, they're just pieces of paper. They're not actually worth anything. Now, I'm not saying go off and be frivolous with it, but you've got to think that money loves energy. And this is what Dr. Vitali talks about all the time, who, as everyone knows, is a complete rags to riches law of attraction teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And appreciation, energy.
Yeah.
And that's the flow which you need.
So true. Yeah. It's been wild to be on the wealth building journey and recognize that no matter where you are, there you are. And like realize like money solves a lot. I definitely believe that your outer world's a reflection of your inner world. So it's like the wealthier you are, often it's a result of you bringing more value to the world.
Yep.
And so, but it takes this, in order for you to enjoy the freedom that money brings, it takes this being aligned, right? So just like you're saying, it's the energy around it. Like because you can make a lot of money and be scared all the time and go like, what if I lose it? I got to protect it. I'm super freaked out, or there's people get really freaked out around money, which is why I want this show in general is thinking about the ways that money causes us to doubt ourselves, have a lot of fear, not want to talk about it with other people. Wealth shame is a really interesting thing that I've been researching a lot and thinking about and helping people work through. So, that's when you said that, it's like, it's so true. Like when we die, we leave everything. And while we're here, what do we want to do with our energy? And how do we want to attract the amount of money that we want and desire to attract our way and do really cool things with it in the world? I mean, I really think about money as freedom. It gives you ultimate freedom to make choices. Yep. And that's awesome. It's like coming from a disempowered background financially, it's like, oh, I like to have the options that money brings for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, anyone that says money's not important is telling you a lie.
Yeah.
There is this hang up of failure versus success. Now, a lot of people worry about failure. There's equal amount who actually worry about success.
Yeah.
And there is I don't want to fail. And it's like, well, if I get it, am I going to lose it? And so not only have you got to get out of the mindset of not failing, but you also got to get out of the mindset of what do I do if I succeed?
Yeah. Yeah.
And both are just as dangerous.
Triggers all those fears around, will people like me? Will I like myself? It's, wealth, shame, fear of success. I always thought that was an interesting one until I started to experience, and the more people I talk to, the more people say that. They're like, what happens when I'm successful? And I always thought, like, I can't wait to be financially successful. But then I get it, it's like there's layers. There's money blocks come in layers. And you think, like, I've got it figured out, and then you get to the next layer. It might be that someone passes away and you get an influx of money. That's a new money block that's going to come up. You could have a job loss and a new business, or you could sell a business and make a whole bunch of money, or you could, there's so many things, or get partnered. And then all of a sudden you got to start talking about your money together, and you realize, oh, I've got some money blocks here. So there's a lot of, to me, I tell people when why I'm so intrigued with money and why I want to bring it to the table to, like, have these open conversations, is because it's the outer representation of inner world in such a tangible way. Like, when I hear someone's money story and I start to understand what's going on, and I can already see the way they think. Do they have an abundance or a scarcity mindset? Like, there's so much wrapped into it. So it's like, I think I love having you on, because it's like you have such a unique perspective on life and love and business. And you've been there, done that in a wide variety of dynamics.
To be honest, you've got to really, one of the things, and I saw this on a post recently, which is what is in it for you? And it's very simple. It's not complicated. Is, do I like what I'm doing? Yes or no? Not, I like it conditional. It's yes or no. Yeah. Am I happy? Yes or no. It's not, well, I'm happy when I get. That's conditional happiness.
Yeah.
If you take everything away, and some people, they've lost a lot, and they've lost it, but they're still them. And that is when the self-worth, the self, everything, that if you get that, and it doesn't matter what you lose, you can come back. And adversity, losing anything, rock bottom, they're the best teachers. You do not learn anything by staying in your comfort zone. And I love that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's about challenge, right? Like, when we're challenged, we grow. And we tend to think, I've called it the curse of the comfort zone, because I think, like, when we're in our comfort zone, it can be so comfortable that you don't really want to do much to get out of it. Although I've noticed with people, they have I call it the niggle. They have like a niggle where it's like, you're not really satisfied. You're not really fulfilled. Like, there's more to this. And I think often that's when people are faced with thinking about the aging process or a near-death experience. They go like, COVID has been a beautiful gift in this way, in particular, where it's like, okay, the world can change quickly. And what do I really want to do in the world? And money is one of those things. It's like, of course, we've got to have money to eat and do life. So, you're like, what do I want to do to make money? Because that's how I spend my energy every day.
I totally agree. And money is transitory. You haven't got the same money. The same money is not the same money you got today of 5 years ago. That's like, well, that's the money I had then. No, And I think that the people who, you don't have to be bolshy or anything, but I think the people who feel the most comfortable and actually, as we said, can deliver a genuine service of things which people need. And that's not just, well, I think that it's what actually people really need. And if it makes you feel good, do more of it. As simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you something that I think is okay to ask.
No.
You and I've had some pretty good heart to heart. So one thing that I think of for you is like, it's like when you were in the hospital, I would be shocked if you woke up and the first thing you thought is like, is my money okay? I'm curious, like, what were you thinking about that part? What would you mind sharing?
Oh, no, not at all. And this will mostly really show. The first thing I did when I woke up is I wanted to make sure my family were alive and safe.
Yeah.
And that's the motivation why most people become an entrepreneur. It's I want to provide a better future or something for my family. So the
Yeah.
first thing that I woke up and thought was, are they alive? Are
Yeah.
they safe?
Yeah.
And anything after that, and they were,
Yeah.
but that was the first thing I wanted to check. Not have my investments done well, or what's happened in the market in the last 10 days. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's and when you cut down people's why,
Yeah.
the first layer, they tell you what, and when you get about 6 or 7 layers down, and that's the real motivation, which keeps you going. And when things get tough, when you want to quit, it's that. And so it's family first, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine, it's like I've had moments where you get faced with those questions real quickly. It's like, holy moly, what really matters to me comes so clearly in your face. It's like, oh, and then I think it can be such a huge gift, because then you do rethink it and go like, what do I want to, I like your question of like, it's like, does this bring me joy? Do I like what I'm doing in the world? Do I want to keep doing it? How am I going to make this my impact in these ways? And I think for most of the people who follow me and you, that's where they're at. It's like, it's that heart-centered entrepreneurship where you're like, I want to make a difference in the world. And how cool is it that you get to make money doing that?
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of, I mean, and again, I encourage people to do this. If they look back at the types of job and the types of business they have, they'll see a thread running through all of them. And it will be like, well, you think, well, what's a kite surfer and a lawyer got in common? Apart from I wore a suit every day in both, and I went to board meetings every day. But, what it was actually looking after people. As a lawyer, that was my job, to get somebody from A to B and get the best outcome for them.
Yeah.
Right, serving. They're doing something really dangerous, and to get them somewhere safe and having fun. Same goes for life coaching. So I'd encourage people, and it's quite a fun exercise, to look back at where they've gone, whether it be in employment or self-employed. Look at the thread, because that actually reveals your true path. And then if you can do something which actually is there, then it's a continuation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to think about, right? Like I look at all the different things I've done in my life and how it's led me into loving these moments. Like I love to teach. I love to share what I'm learning. I love to learn and I love to teach. And it's like everything I do, you can see the thread of that. And that's where you get to, when we talk about in business strategy, monetizing what you love to do is the most fun way, because then you feel like you're on vacation every day. It's exciting and fun.
Well, I used to think of everything in a competition. I wanted more than them. If there's a pie, I wanted their part as well. And if they took a piece up, you worry, well, what happened to mine? As I've progressed, I've gone to the point of now I collaborate. That for me brings me the most joy.
Yeah.
Sitting down and being able to talk to you, to think of some ideas. And the thing I always love about that, and I've seen it, and I know everyone else has seen it, is there is no way they could guess the outcome of the meeting as they went in, because you're like, man, look at the amount of ground we've covered, and we went in, and now look at, and that is the power and the joy of collaboration. And the parts become more than the whole.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, when you take a step on the way appears. It's by Rumi. And it's exactly that, right? Like in collaborations, I love, like even in this today, like our conversation, since this is first Monday money talk, I'm like, let's see where it goes and let's see what people like and let's see how it feels. And then I'll take the step, and then next week it'll be a little different. And then the next week, and then you refine it as you go. And that's what gives you clues as to, what are the next steps to take. And to me, I like to do the inspired path steps. I just go like, I'm inspired to have a conversation with Paul today because I love jamming out with you. And then like whoever's attracted our way, it's awesome. And then you get to collaborate, in those ways. So thank you for being here. I want to ask you.
Yes.
As we're talking, I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, for people watching or listening, I want them to be engaged in terms of thinking like, okay, I want some key takeaway tips, like actionable strategy style. And I think we've given actually quite a bit already just in these conversations that we've had about how to build your business from a place of authenticity. What does money mean to us? Investing in ourselves. I'm curious, like if you were to say your very fastest strategy for growing a business and making more money, what would you say it would be?
I'd say the perfection is enemy of good. So actually, if we actually had everything apple pie order and like, no, I can't do it because of hey, we're entrepreneurs. Somebody pushes us off the cliff, we'll build the wings on the way down. And so perfection is the enemy of good. Do it and learn. And there's another one. It's like ready, fire, aim. And so, you've got to actually, you could spend a long time in the ready, but ready, fire, aim.
Yeah, so true. Has perfectionism been something that's held you back in the past?
Yes, and it's very seductive and it's fear-based because you're like, well, if I send it, is it going to work? Are people going to like it? That's why also taking yourself away from the outcome relieves a huge amount of pressure. It's okay. If it doesn't work, like Edison says, I found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Well, all right, you're not gonna hit the mark every time. Relax. It will maybe lead into something else which you didn't think of at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine for you never thought that, being a lawyer would lead to being a mentor, personal growth and development, like guru.
I mean, if I met myself now when I was 20, first of all, I would say to myself, you're a dick. And this, because I thought I had it all figured out. What I'd say to me is, I'm not taking advice from you because you look like a homeless person. But, you've got to, that's the beautiful thing. And if we're not, hey, if we don't have stories, and that's what actually brings. And I remember when we first spoke, we talked about the campfire and then stories, and that actually now there's hundreds of campfires you can go and speak at. And there's so much for free or low cost and value. There's so much listening to podcasts, listening to things. You would have to pay a lot of money in days gone by to get on these courses, to go to these events. And it's all done now to help people. I think it's coming from a far more collaboration style rather than I'm not going to tell him my secret style.
Yeah, totally. I mean, well, and you're so, well, it's interesting because I always think of things in value systems where, we're drawn to confirm what we believe to be true based on our house values. So it's like for you, collaboration is such a powerful tool because you're so good at connecting different people and different ways of networking and that kind of thing. And so it's like, I mean, that alone is a valuable tip. Like go with what works well for you and play to your strengths. And that's going to be your money makers in the end because it's what makes you feel good and it's what you would automatically naturally do. I always think it's intriguing when people, it's like when I work with people and they're like, but I should be doing this and this and this. I'm like, well, why? Says who? Like, yes, there are a few business fundamentals that you need to do, but beyond that, it's like your most magnetic money force is when you're doing the things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, I mean, a small business, they have to tend to think they have to wear many hats, and usually it's because of a price thing. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I mean, I used to see this all the time. Somebody who had a fantastic idea or anything else, like a mechanic, say, they were really good at what they did, but they never used to send me a bill because they were too busy to get round to it. And they say, oh, well, when you come in next time, and of course it could be a couple of months and then they're forgotten.
Yeah.
And really, that's a weakness. So if it's not something you're good at, it will be somebody else's what they're good at. And that's why having a team, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you have to realize that there are certain points, accounts, paperwork. If you're not good at it, find somebody who is good at it. And you concentrate on what you're doing.
Yeah, like I always say to people, drop, automate, or delegate. It's like things that you're not enjoying in your business, drop, automate, or delegate. Some of the things you don't want to drop because you can need to be bookkeeping. You need to know what your numbers are. But, make sure that you either automate that or delegate it. That one you need to delegate. But it's like always be questioning. I all the time I share, like, okay, does it bring me joy? Am I doing what I love? If I'm not feeling the joy, where can I drop, automate, or delegate?
Yeah.
Because then for anyone who ends up watching this, it's like, that's the power of money magnetism. Like, you will get to, it's shocking to me when you are playing in that field of energy and joy, where it's like, oh, opportunities come my way that I could have never guessed would come my way because I'm doing the things I enjoy doing.
I think when people say they're in the zone, when athletes say, "Oh, I'm in the zone," it's not because they sat and did a plan about it and they think, "Well, actually, I'm going to go here, run here, do that." It's all flow, and that's when they get the most creative play.
Yeah.
From actually just, in a way, hey, no, life did not come with a manual, and it doesn't say, look at page X when you do it. We wing it. That's what we do. That the whole race, wing it. So, be able to step out there. And also, there are people like you, there are people out there who actually can talk. They may actually save you months and months or years of wasting money, of looking in the wrong places. I once did a post which it's like, be careful when you climb the ladder, be careful which wall you're relating it against, because you're going to get to the top of that ladder and it's like, oh, damn, it's the wrong wall. So make sure that you place your ladder of whatever you want to succeed against the right wall, until getting there and thinking, I wish it was over there. Simple tip.
Yeah. This is so fruitful for me. So it's like, as you're talking and through this conversation, I'm getting so much clarity around, and this goes along with our idea of like, take a step on the way and the way appears. For these Monday money talks, I've been going like, what do I want? What do I want this to become? And my new podcast, the way that I've talked to people about what I release every week is that it has to do with helping people along the way as I scale to 7 figures, as I help them scale their businesses. And it's really around these ideas around mindset, money, marketing, and manifestation. And as you and I are talking, I'm sitting here going like, ooh, what do we want to share with people from our hearts about money, about business? Like, what do people really want to hear in that place of not knowing what to talk about? So I'm like writing all that. You're making me think of so many fun things. I'm like, oh, let's hear about this. Let's hear about this. The one that I just came up with is asking you, like, what were you told about money growing up? Like, what was kind of a money story that you developed as a child?
I think, well, it's quite easy, and I suspect a lot of people will relate to this. My father was building, he was a lawyer too, and he started his own business. So he worked really hard, long hours, and he was empire building. And in the 70s, it was quite usual to have a family very young. I have a 5-year-old now, and I'm not as young. I'm not going to say, I'm on level 47. I don't say the age. I'm on level 47. And so I always, with him working, without him saying anything, I thought that money would be hard to come by, because you had to do this long work, and we had nice things, but there seemed to be an awful amount of cost to it. And this broke my heart. And my dad recently, he came and he said, look, I just want to say sorry. I said, what for? He said, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there and enjoy the growing up part. And he carried this burden for 40 odd years. And I said to him, I said, you've got nothing to be sorry about. I realized that you were working hard for us.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's something which actually you can carry your entire life. You get so focused on what you're doing. And again, it comes back to the family. So my thinking of money was that you had to grind and work hard to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Which then and breaking that, and a lot of people have that type of thing. breaking it is not easy.
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you have any tips on breaking it? Because this is probably one of the number one money blocks that comes up for people. Like that's something I'm really been moving in the direction of is helping people unblock anything that's stopping them. And one of the biggest beliefs I run into is this one, and it was mine as well. It's like you have to work your ass off to make money, which is like, I don't want to work that hard. So then, and no one does. No one wants to work 18 hours a day and miss their children growing up. Like, yeah, we want the wealth that's on that other side of that, but is there an easier way? And does it start here? What do you think about that?
I do think, and like most things, to every action, the ancestor is a thought. So you actually have to get that part right. And people say mindset, and to be honest, yes and no. Mindset will only take you so far. It's a collection of ideas effectively, but they all have a root, and you need to get that right. The rest of it, and we were talking earlier about things aren't falling apart, they actually are falling into place. Mm-hmm. And so I think, yes, it is really important. And if you sit and think about it, and it's like most things, if you fear something, it gets bigger. If you say, right, I'm going to go and I'm going to look at this, it tends to shrink down a lot in size. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, which is the less I think about money in a business, the more of it turns up. I mean, at kite surfing, I was just busy having fun, teaching people, and people are like, oh, that was great. And you start getting tips, you start getting referrals.
Yeah.
And I think when you actually, if your sole goal is to make lots of money, you're missing the real trick there.
Yeah.
And I think
that underneath part, right? Because I think it's funny what you said, like when you stop thinking about money, it actually more of it turns up, because what you're not thinking about is the fear of not having it. Because that's really what you end up focusing on, is the fear of not having it, which then repels it away from you.
Exactly. I mean, what your mind focuses on grows.
Yeah.
So if you're and even when people,
oh my God, I just have to say, you just made me think, like, if you're focused on I've got to work hard to get money, what you're focusing on there is work hard.
You focus on what you actually mean. It comes in the very first part. It doesn't come at the end, because the end is the outcome.
Yeah.
So if you just said out loud, just look at the first 2 or 3 words and what you say, and that will give you a lot of truth as to what you then think.
Yes.
Equal. It's like, hey, I hated algebra, so did everyone else. But everything before the equals is kind of important now. So,
well, I think, something you're highlighting too that's important to point out is that our brain doesn't notice the negative parts. It just hears certain commands. So it's like, someone shared this with me once, I can't remember what it was. And it's like, that's so brilliant and true. Like, if we tell a dog, don't sit, it hears sit. And our brain is a similar way. So if we're focusing on, like, I want to get rid of my debt, it's focusing on debt. And then we get more debt, right? And so for you were focused on fun, money comes, right? Same thing for businesses. It's why I ask myself every single morning when I journal, when I meditate, I'm like, what am I going to do to have joy today? What am I doing in my business that brings me joy? And if it doesn't bring me joy, I pay attention to it and I go, okay, what do I need to drop, automate, or delegate? Because I know I'm going to be the most magnetic to money when I'm not focused on freaking out about, oh, I got to have more money. Instead, I'm like, I got to have more fun.
and we see it everywhere. I mean, just look at it. And I know, again, this is quite a good thing, just to prove the positivity. I find that I meet people effortlessly, and I seem always to keep meeting the right type of people, and I meet these connections, think, oh my God, this is just wonderful. I don't sit there and think, well, today I'm going to try and be nice to 10 people. It doesn't work like that. It works on, you meet a connection, they then refer another one, and the magic then starts there.
Yeah.
And you can apply that strategy straight to your business.
Yeah.
It's like,
doing what you love
and focusing on the right connections, the right people, the right connections.
Yeah.
Because everyone crosses your path for a reason at perfectly the right time. And that person everyone is a teacher. So that person crossed your path to teach, so you can learn something off the back of it. So don't take failure as a failure. That's a lesson. And the thing is, if you don't pay attention to that lesson, it tends to keep coming around until you learn it. And then it's like, oh, okay, now we've got a new lesson to teach you. So,
lessons get louder and harder as that escalates. As your denial and avoidance of it gets louder and louder and harder and harder, and bigger things happen to knock you into awareness and of what you really want to be doing. I think that's how I've seen it.
I agree. And it starts off as a whisper, like, I don't think you should be doing that. And at the end, it's like, listen, I've given you the benefit of the doubt. Now I'm going to hit you with something which will stop you. And now you will damn well listen, because this is where we're now going. And I think just being aware, I mean, it's not a spiritual thing. It's just actually seeing the signs. Now, as entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We see signs, we see trends. We're so good at identifying them for our business. Well, move it a step closer, because we are our business. It's not, well, I'm not, I am my business, and I'm a team. I have other teams, but I am the product. I am the business. So it's not, oh, well, I'm going to do this for a third person. I think if you learn the lessons, you're in charge of your own ship. Or you're a CEO. Don't go and fire yourself. I'm going to fire myself today. No, just carry on what you think.
Or, I mean, I love that you're saying that, because it's like that question: would you fire yourself if you were showing up this way as the CEO of a different business? like you got to pay attention to what you're doing. And it's so fascinating to me, because I love that you're saying it's like we are our business. If you're coming from a W-2 background and then you're stepping into entrepreneurship, and then I like that you just said the CEO part, because it's like, if you want to run a successful company, you think about it from that way, but you think about the initial origination of a company, and the ones that make it the biggest. It's the innovation, it's the providing solutions, it's hiring the right people for the right parts of the business, and it's whoever's leading the way doing what is valuable and loved by them, right? Like, I think about like Tesla or Elon Musk. It's like he's doing what he loves to do. Like it's wildly successful because he's doing what he loves to do. I think it's so important to be in your zone of genius, and really, especially because life is short, and you and I both know that. Like you never know when it's your last breath. And we don't want to be sitting on our deathbed. I know it's kind of morbid to think about, but it's like, I don't want to be sitting on my deathbed going like, I lived every day pursuing something I didn't really enjoy.
I think regret is the one emotion you can never get rid of. Once it's there, it's there. And Wayne Dyer, who I'm a big fan of, is don't die with the music still inside you. And it's no good to say, oh, can I go back and do that again? It's like, no, that's your turn. You don't get it. And so,
you don't always, right? Like, no.
And we're only guaranteed the now, this minute. That's all we're guaranteed.
Absolutely. I know you and I can just chat all day long. What would you say in closing up? What's your biggest, what's a great book that you've read on, specifically on kind of money transformation? Is there one that you would recommend?
I'm just looking to my bookshelf there, and I'm going to pull out a favorite, but hey,
go for it. I love it. I love learning about new books.
I don't care.
Yes.
I mean, paginated. I mean, trust. And the thing is, every time I read this book, it's like reading another story in it. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that one. So don't just sort of read it because you think you have to. Actually go through and live that part. And there's a lot of magic in there.
Yeah. If you integrate it, you follow Bob Proctor, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Well, Bob Proctor, this is kind of his base plate of everything. Yeah. And to be honest, I've been on seminars where he's dissected it, and there's so many messages in there if you got the eye for it. And I think that's the important thing.
Well, and I love that you say got the eye for it, but that the messages change as you transform. So you could read that book every month and get a different message and unfold a new layer of yourself. Yeah. And I mean, that's, like we were talking about at the beginning, where money blocks tend to happen differently as you grow and change. They never go away. Like I do this full time. I mean, I read all the money books. I learn everything I can about money mindset, about, unconscious, how my unconscious prevents me. And I'm constantly learning and growing, and I'll never be done with money blocks. Like, they keep coming. So you want to keep being an ever, be a student forever of how to exactly that, think and grow rich. And rich is meaning like a life of freedom that you love and get to do what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, wealth isn't always the monetary side. Hey, everyone needs money.
Right. It's like, it's all of that behind that. Like, what does the wealth bring to you?
Exactly.
What does it do for you? Okay. Share with everyone where they can find you.
Sure. I mean, first of all, the website, which is takeactionacademy.ca, it's been running across the bottom in glorious Technicolor. You can email me at paul@takeactionacademy.ca. I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and I am under Paul S. Rogers. And also, I'm a member of a non-profit organization, which is corementorsassociation.com. So you're going to have to try really hard not to find me.
It's so true. And I say, okay, it was takeactionacademy.ca.
CA.
Okay.
Yeah. Being up here in Canada, it's a CA rather than a com.
There we go. I'm going to have that one scrolling across the bottom for everyone. And I mean, everyone who gets to watch this, Paul is incredibly brilliant on LinkedIn. So if you are looking for, who to model after, and a person who makes really high value connections and posts things that people want to connect and engage with, go there. And it's just under, is it Paul Rogers on LinkedIn?
It's Paul S. Rogers, because apparently there's lots of Paul Rogerses. I didn't know that there were so many of me, but there is. So Paul S. Rogers.
Paul S. Rogers. And I'm sure if they go to Take Action Academy, they'll be there too. Okay. Wonderful. Well, we're going to have to do like an annual talk on here, because you're my jam. I love out with you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your, just being willing to be my first guinea pig for money talks. Thank you. All right, everyone. I will be back next week. Paul will be back another time in the future. Make sure you check out his website, takeactionacademy.ca. And until next week, I hope you have a NFA, money-making, awesome, incredible, fulfilling week. Bye all.